after a bit of a vacation. I'm glad you're enjoying the tunes. It's good stuff. Let me check my audio levels here really quick with Windows, because it likes to turn my... Yeah, there it goes. It turned my mic down. There we go. So now nice and loud. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Satan and Coffee. Good fucking morning to you. And it wouldn't be Satan and Coffee without coffee. So also for those that aren't aware, the time changed again this last Sunday. Yeah. So the issue with that is the time doesn't change in Mexico, where I live. So up until this past Sunday, I've been operating off of Central Standard Time. Now, I'm more accurately Mountain Standard Time. It is currently 7:11 in the morning for me. So I'm not sure if I want to do the show at 6:30 in the morning or if I want to do it at 7. I was shooting for 6:30 today. 7 seemed a bit more realistic. So yeah, just keep an eye out within that half an hour time period on Wednesdays and Fridays for the that time frame, right? So it's either going to be 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning Mountain Standard Time. Because I guess Mexico doesn't actually have its own time zone, like, which is fucking weird. Like, I mean, I've looked it up several times, and I've never actually found anything concrete. Let's see. Yeah, see, it just says Central Standard Time is what it says. Like, but it's not Central Standard Time. So I don't, because Texas is Central Standard Time, and the time here does not match up with Texas currently. So that's the thing that's confusing about the Mexican time zone, because they call it Central Standard, but it doesn't follow Central Standard. So yeah, it's 7 for me in Utah. Yeah, that would be Mountain Standard. So yeah, it's so funny that you're in Utah, because the company I actually work for is based out of Utah. My good old 8 to 5. You know, the bill paying job is based out of Utah. So so yeah, good times. So yeah, just to let you guys know. So currently right now, there you go. So yeah, so currently the time zone that I match up with is Mountain Standard, right? So I match up with Mountain Standard Time. So if you guys start to see things say MST, that's why. It just kind of gives you guys a better idea of what, what time things are actually going to be at. So if you're wondering why, if anyone's wondering why, like, the show's time changes after, daylight savings, that's why. And it's irritating for me. Like, I prefer... so the funny thing is so before Sunday, my working hours were 9 to 6. And I like that. I like that extra hour in the morning. And now it's like 8 to 5. So it's just, it really messes with me too. Out an acid cold infusion cigar for the first time. It's really good. Nice. A cigar at 7 o'clock in the morning. Rock on. Why the hell not? Right? Why not? So as we do, we're going to be doing the daily oracle read, right? See what the energy is for today. What we got going on. Ooh, that's a jumper. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So we got one card that we usually get, and then two new ones that are popping out in front of us here. So again, like what we're going to do is we're going to use the oracle cards for the base, and then we're going to go through with the shadow work deck, how it applies. So our first card this morning, guys, is the Infernal Ascent. That is our first card this morning. And so Infernal Ascent is interesting because we are talking about an upward motion, right? Like, because an ascent. We're talking about an upward motion in terms of like ambition and power, kind of like the pursuit of what you perceive to be your destiny, right? So it's the strength that is needed to climb to reach that, right? Is what we're talking about. It's when the odds against you seem insurmountable, but you know that you're worth more. So this, when we talk about the Infernal Ascent, we're talking about movement upward that requires fortitude. It's not an easy ascent. It's not an easy climb. Okay. So today's energy starting out seems like it might not be an easy day, right? That doesn't mean that we can't overcome it. It just means that we need to be prepared for what's going to be in front of us. And then our second card is the Fire Warden, right? So with the Fire Warden, again, we're talking about our energy flows here. We're talking about a surge of passionate energy that fuels you, right? Almost like transformation through fire and intensity. So this ties in perfectly. You know, when we talk about the Infernal Ascent, we're talking about that difficulty in rising above, but with the Fire Warden. And it's very interesting that it's a dragon because, as I always say, be the fucking dragon. This card, that dragon, that is you, right? And it seems like this is also tying us to creativity, right? So a difficulty with creativity, right? And need to move forward with that. Now, our final card seems very interesting. The Harbinger is our final card here. And again, we're talking about powerful forces, something coming and bringing transformation and revelation in our lives. And it is to say, be prepared for the unexpected. Expect the unexpected. So all in all with this, we are talking about a difficult, creative journey, moving ourselves through, finding our power and moving ourselves through difficulty. So this could be people telling us that we can't do things, that we're not going to be able to do the things that we want to do. But the one thing that all three of these cards have is we're talking about transformation. So something today is going to begin the process of transformation, the process of change, of how we perceive and interact with the world around us. And it is important for us to be aware that sometimes those things that will be transformative may not take the form that we expect them to. Now, to overlay this with the shadow work deck, essentially it is to say, what the fuck can you do, right, in regard to this stuff? What do we got? Well, let's see. Interesting. Okay. So what we're looking at, first card, reclaim the lost self, identity, power, soul retrieval. Ooh, I'm hitting my microphone because apparently my depth perception's fucked up. So this ties in well with the Infernal Ascent. The Infernal Ascent, we're talking about a difficult journey, right? Overcoming obstacles to reclaim the lost self, to find ourselves again, right? Which is going to be actually tied very well into what we're going to be talking about today. Because sometimes that journey, sometimes that struggle, sometimes that stress will tear us away from ourselves because we are so obsessively ingrained with what's happening around us that we're not paying attention to ourselves and what we need for ourselves. Now, what crosses or overlays the Fire Warden is control loop. Micromanaging, anxiety, fear of chaos. And this ties into, again, exactly what I'm talking about. You can't control everything, guys. You can only control yourself. You cannot control what other people do. You need to stop trying to micromanage your life and let happen what needs to happen. Just happen. And allow yourself the space to actually grow. The little things that you're worried about aren't going to matter in 6 months. They're not going to matter in a year. They matter now because that's what's in front of your face. But if you're to take a step back, stop looking at that one tree, that one wire, that one whatever, you realize that there is an entire forest in front of you. And then what crosses the Harbinger, okay, there we go. What crosses the Harbinger is conflict freeze, shutdown, guilt, fear of disapproval. And this ties right into the kind of the creative energy aspects, is what we're talking about within the unexpected, you know, kind of like the unexpected transformation. Is the way it feels is it feels like we're reaching a point here where we are going to have to face ourselves. We're not going to be able to back out of the conflict like we normally do. We're not going to be able to shut down and disappear the way we normally like to do, right? We're not going to be able to do that. We are going to have to face ourselves. We are going to have to face the problem at hand. And understand that even if those around us disapprove of what it is that we are doing for ourselves, that they have no say in what it is that we do with our lives, right? Kind of brings me to be completely honest, I like living by the 3 Fs. Guys aren't aware of what the 3 Fs are. Is if you are not fucking me, feeding me, or financing me, I don't give a fuck about what you think about me or how I live my life. So yes, the 3 F's: fucking, feeding, and financing. So, that being said, once again, welcome. I have to announce it again. I'm going to probably announce it for a while now. You know, going forward, my book's finally out. The physical copy is finally there. You can get it on Amazon, or you can just buy the digital copy because there's a digital copy available as well. And so there's the book. I think official announcement here, so because it's pretty close to being put together. So Daira and I are finally getting back into the groove of creating our educational platform, our occult academy. So for those that might remember it, sorry, I'm filling up my vape here, guys. For those that might remember it, we were calling it Witch Skills. We sat down, we had a conversation. For as much as we love the name Witch Skills, it didn't fit what we wanted it to be, right? The name seemed too playful for what we wanted it to be. Like, because we're trying to create like a solidified, standardized 4-year system, like with actual like degrees in certain areas of the occult. And Witch Skills just sounds like, like Skillshare. It's like little courses here and there for, a certification in this, that, or the next thing, or just learning how to do something. So the name has changed. It is Collegium Arcanum. Yes, we went Latin with it. The website is collegiumarcanum.com, which should be up. There's no accessible courses right now. The first course to go up onto that is going to be a course on the left-hand path. And that's going to be free. So that's going to be the first thing that goes up, is for probably the first 6 months that it is open. That course is going to be, I'm a certified professional witch. Nice. Right? Is going to be, basically, it's going to be free for like the first 6 months. So I think it's like a total of like 30 hours, the left-hand path course, which will give you a certification at the end of it. And yes, it goes through the history of the left-hand path, before it was called the left-hand path, why it started to become called the left-hand path, and then kind of what it means today. Right? Then the second course is probably going to go up as a specific one on demonolatry. So, and little by little, we're basically going to start putting up shorter courses to start with. So shorter, cheaper courses, which are going to be certificate courses. And then as we start to go through, we're going to start building in like a more solidified curriculum. Something we are going to be standardizing the occult, essentially. Now, the beautiful thing with the LMS that we're using is it has kind of like a social media aspect to it, so everyone can have profiles. You can see what students are online. There's going to be forums, a blog. All of these things are going to be on there, right? It's a huge undertaking what we're building, right? We're not building something. We're not building little courses. We're building full-on programs, right? And we really want to change how occult education is handled. Like, we want to become, we want to set the standard for occult education with this. So Collegium Arcanum is the name of it. And you can go to collegiumarcanum.com and kind of give a little browse through on the site. Like I said, it's a skeleton of what it's going to be, but it's the process has begun. I'm working on it daily, getting it set up. We're also going to be, for the bigger courses, we're going to be including access to Klarna and ClearPay. So, you guys can set up and make payments on things like, so if you want to join in, but, you don't want to drop, X amount of dollars at once, you can kind of go through those and get your, get it broken up over, I think, 3 months or 6 weeks or something. So something along those lines. So yeah, so very excited for that. Working on the next book already. I have 2 co-author projects that I'm doing. Would be co-authoring a book with Curtis Joseph, and I'm going to be co-authoring a book with Dyra. So yeah, it's fun stuff. Satan wants to destroy you. Don't let him fool you. The simple-minded. The simple-minded. So yeah, so lots of projects in the pipeline. Leora and Pip is also still a thing. To lose yourself is to realize there was never a self to begin with. Oh. So, Leora and Pip is still in production. The first part of that is actually finished. I'm a little bit behind schedule. Amazon gave me a lot of shit with publishing the book. That was supposed to be published back in February. It didn't happen when I wanted it to, sadly. I apologize. Leora and Pip, if you guys are wondering what that is, Leora and Pip is basically the cult literature educational path for children. So, and there's a parent guide included in this. So the idea is to bring kind of like our values in such a way that allow children to not have the dogma that is attached to religion, but still give them something that they can want to or look forward to, like reading and interacting with, right? So there's a lot of, things that there's a workbook that comes with it. There's also a journal that comes with it. It encourages children to begin journaling to get their emotions out. It helps teach emotional intelligence. And then there's a parent guide, which helps parents to kind of look at and say, okay, like, how can I use these stories, this particular story here, to teach my children something? So, yeah, Leora and Pip is definitely something that I'm excited for, oddly, because the only other place that I've seen do anything for kids was the Satanic Temple with their After School Satan, and the advertising video of that seemed better suited for like a Marilyn Manson music video than it was to advertise actual education to children. Like, I really don't know who was running marketing at that time, but like, they should have been fired. It's like, what the fuck, man? And so essentially, yeah, I haven't really seen anything on the market that really helps parents, with their kids, as far as like content is concerned for, teaching values to our children using kind of like the ideas of our spirituality. without actually directly like talking to our kids about demons, because I also don't think that that's necessarily a good idea. You know, and so Leora and Pip is supposed to bridge that gap, right? It does cater to the edgelords. It does, you know. It's like, you know, the whole after school Satan thing, like, was supposed to be directed towards, like, you know, elementary school kids, but they designed it like specifically to target, like, you know, high school kids, you know, that listen to Marilyn Manson, or Nine Inch Nails, or whatever the equivalent is today. You know, so I don't know. I just wanted to make something, like, I'm definitely, if anything, I've actually sat down and I've actually thought about, like, what I would label myself inside of all of this. And I, honestly, I think I'm just like, I'm a creator of systems. Like, I make systems. Like, I build things. Like, I'm the type of person that, like, you know, what would be really cool is if this existed. And then instead of waiting for somebody else to make it, I just start making it. Like, that's what I do. I just build it. Right. I wanted an occult school that, you know, was more serious and not so much like Skillshare with short little 2-week courses. Dyra and I are building it. I wanted occult education material for children. I'm building it. I wanted life coaching built around the left-hand path and Jungian psychology. I built it. Right. Infernal Compass. You know, Infernal Compass is my life coaching brand, right? You know, I've got several clients already, you know, that, you know, swear by it. And yeah, I mean, I just build things. Like, that's what I do. I like to build things. I like to watch things take shape, you know? So yeah, anyway, so getting into today's topic, finally, that was a long run of shit that I'm doing, right? Thank you, perfect stranger. All right, so getting into today's topic, right? So if you guys saw the title's Fear, Victimhood, and the Loss of Self, right? So one of the things that I think that we run into a lot, right, especially as adults, is the lack of serotonin production or dopamine production as we become older, right? Things that we were passionate about and found interesting and propelled us forward seem less interesting than they were when we were younger, right? And there's a chemical reason for that. There's a biological reason for that, but there's also a societal reason for that, right? And a big part of this, I want to focus on Jungian psychology a little bit here, right? So with Carl Jung, he argued that when inner material is not consciously faced, it gets projected outward, right? So essentially, that the psychological rule says that when an inner situation is not made conscious, it happens outside as fate, right? So that is kind of like what Carl Jung argued, like, as far as like what we deal with, right? So when we have something in our mind, when we have something inside of us and we don't face it, we don't deal with it and ask, why do I feel this way? We begin to project, right? And it's one of the things I'm really kind of starting to see in society. And I'm just kind of starting to see, like, just people. I did an interview on this podcast. Oh, that guy's gonna kill me because I can't remember the name. Is Animal something, Animal Project Files or something along those lines. was, sorry, I just got a random message from my bank. So, and we had a really good conversation. It was a really great conversation that we had. And there was a part that I kind of got into with it where I kind of started talking about just how obsessive people are about like what's happening around them. You know, and unfortunately you can't have that conversation without talking about politics. And I hate talking about politics, but that seems to be like the big bad now, right? Is like just politics in general. And what's happening, and the reason I think you can't have the conversation without talking about politics is because politically speaking, people have more than ever began to build their entire identities around their politics. And I've said this a million times, but this kind of plays into it. When you become overly obsessed with the things that are happening around you, right? Whether that be your faith, your whatever the hell it is, whatever the hell it is that you believe in, you know, when you make that thing you, like that is the thing that defines you. Like when somebody asks you who you are as a person and you say, I'm this one thing, that is a problem, a very big problem. Because once you make your personality about that one thing, you cease to have a personality, right? So, and then when somebody disagrees with that one thing, it's no longer a conversation, right? It's an attack, right? You feel attacked because you've made this one, your entire life about this one thing. And we happen to do this with a lot of things, right? And so this directly connects into not being able to deal with trauma, not being able to deal with what you've got going on in your life, right? Exactly. That's the thing, right? We are more than that, but we're not giving ourselves enough credit, right? To understand that we are more than this one thing that we believe in. I've said this a million times, right? I'm not just a metalhead. I'm not just a goth. I'm not just an occultist. I'm not just a dad. I'm not just a husband. You know, I'm all of these things, but I'm also more than that, right? And so a practitioner who lives in permanent reaction cannot hear the deeper layers of the psyche. And if you cannot hear the deeper layers of the psyche, your ancestors, guides, deities, symbols, dreams, and intuition all become harder to distinguish from your own noise. That's what happens inside of this. It breaks down our connection to all of these things. Right? It becomes harder to go into ritual. It becomes harder to be excited about something because you're choosing victimhood. You're choosing to be afraid, right? You're choosing to find things to be afraid of because you don't actually have anything to be afraid of. And that's going to be a hard fucking pill for a lot of people to swallow. So many of us are creating this long list of things that we are afraid of because we don't actually have anything to be afraid of. Being a victim is fun, though. Not really. You know, and that's the thing, right? Like it comes down to, you know, the psychology of things where, so as human beings, as biological creatures, as mammals, We are hardwired, and society has preyed on this since before any of us probably drew breath in this world. But we are hardwired to remember the negative. We are hardwired to hold on to negative information for the sake of security, for the sake of safety, right? It goes all the way back down to like the cavemen, right? So if you came across the saber-toothed tiger and happened to win that fight, your brain is going to remember that creature and the details of that creature, its teeth, its eyes, its ears, the way that it moves. Why? Because you're fucking terrified of it, right? A perfect example, a personal example for me. Unfortunately, I'm arachnophobic. I can't fucking stand spiders, right? Unless, of course, they're the little cute jumping ones. And then I'll leave those guys alone because they eat the ants and shit in the house. And I do think that they're cute. Like, I'm not going to lie. They got the two big beady eyes on the top of their head and shit. And they're just kind of, they look at you, right? Like, so at least there's a cute genus of spider out there. Anyway, I hate spiders. I can't stand spiders, but I can very quickly in my head picture how they walk, how they move, right? I can see it. Like, I don't even have to think about it. It's just boom, there, right? But like, exactly, right? So, no, I wouldn't like Australia. Like, we've had that conversation, my friend. Like, I had one buddy. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but I had a buddy in Australia. Like, we were talking about the huntsman spiders. Like, oh, they're like pigeons. Like, what kind of fucking pigeons do you have, man? Like, when I think of a pigeon, I don't think of like, a spider the size of a fucking dinner plate, like running across my ceiling. But yeah, it's one of those things that our brains are hardwired to carry pigeons. Good Christ. Our brains are hardwired to be able to recall negative information significantly faster than positive, right? I have a busted pigeon. There you go. And so because our brains recall negative information faster and more accurately for safety reasons, right? Society plays into this. This whole victim mentality thing is an extension of this. Right? It's an extension of people focusing on negative because it's easier for our brains to do that. It's fucked up. It breeds more negativity, right? But it's, it's the reason why it perpetuates. So the psychological base for victimhood and grievance, right? There is a difference between being harmed and building an identity around being harmed. I'm going to say that one more time. There is a difference between being harmed and building an identity around being harmed. And then you create perceived harm in everything, right? Anyone ever heard the term microaggression? That's exactly what that is, right? So psychology research on the tendency for interpersonal victimhood describes it as enduring orientation in which the self is experienced as a victim across relationships. And it is associated with rumination, need for recognition, moral elitism, and reduced empathy. It's 100% tree sap. Yes. What was a survival mechanism to keep your tribe safe is now a mechanism by which victims whine on TikTok. 100%. 100%. Okay. And so there is a big, I only heard my, So there's a big focal point here, right? On what I just said. Reduced empathy. So there's a reason why there is a pattern, a visible pattern in people that claim to be, what's the word I'm looking for? They claim to be like inclusive. That's the word I'm looking for, right? So there is a pattern of the group of people that claim to be all inclusive that constantly and perpetually show a lack of empathy. Like if you go through and you look at interactions with inclusive people inherently show a reduction in empathy, right? So it matters because rumination keeps the wound open, right? So research also links anger, rumination with aggression and revenge-focused thinking, right? So pain asks to be witnessed. Victim identity asks to be worshipped. So that is a big differential, right? So again, there's a difference between being harmed and then building your identity around being harmed. And so true pain asks to be witnessed. It asks to be seen. The victim identity asks to be worshipped. Right? So it is, humans do insist on turning everything into a shrine, right? We as human beings, as people, we want to turn everything into a shrine, right? Everything needs to be, this big, massive deal, right? Including our own injury. So if you look at the victimhood mentality, we also fall into the collective victimhood mentality. And with the collective victimhood mentality, it perpetuates it further. Again, the tribal mentality, right? So you have a perceived threat, you understand what this threat is, you psychologically know what the threat is, and you use that threat, right? You identify it to protect the tribe. When the entirety of the tribe is on the same page and thinks that the same thing is, a threat that actually isn't, you create an echo chamber, and inside of that echo chamber, it gets louder and louder and louder. And it becomes harder and harder to break it away because everyone is validating that victimhood mentality because everyone is suffering from that same victimhood mentality. And again, that increases the lack of empathy. And as much as I hate to bring this aspect of it up, it's also why you begin to see more violent language and behavior coming from certain people than others. Because when you do believe inside of that victimhood mentality, into that perpetual victimhood mentality, when you do believe that you are truly at threat, the natural reaction of the human brain is to destroy a threat. The first reaction is to get away from it. The second reaction, when you're not able to get away from it, is to kill it. And that's what we're seeing. And we say that people that think this way or see things this way are crazy, right? And that may or may not be true. Who knows, right? But what we actually run into is the brain doing what the brain is designed to do. It goes to show that these people are truly believing that they are at threat. that this thing, whatever it is that they are against, is truly threatening to them. The brain is doing what the brain is supposed to be doing. But it's because they're unable to see anything else outside of it. And how does this affect the practitioner? How does this affect our work as occultists? Well, the thing is the occult community is rife with this mentality, with this victim mentality, right? Because the occult calls people to be empowered of themselves. We're talking about a community of people that feel as if they are not empowered, right? That their power was taken away from them. So they come into the occult because they want their power, right? They want that power to come back to them. They want their own power back. The problem is instead of empowering themselves and taking responsibility for their actions and, all of these things in their lives, they fall further down the rabbit hole of victimhood, which is why the occult community is rife with these types of people. And then when you're not focusing on the work, guys, when you're not focusing on that spiritual work, when you're not focusing on the gnosis, the rituals, the understanding, the growth, the becoming a better person for yourself and understanding your own responsibility, then you lose the connections that you begin to build. When your only focus is on all the bad shit that's happening around you or has happened to you, then it becomes increasingly more difficult for any growth to actually happen. Anyway, guys, for today, that is going to be it. That's all the time that I got for today. There is more that I want to go through in this, and I think I'll cover it on Friday. It's good to see everybody again. And yeah, as always, hail thy fucking self. I'll see you in the next one. Peace the fuck out, everybody.